Okay, so once again, good evening to everybody, and good morning or good afternoon to the folks who are joining us from different parts of the world. So today our session is going to be on accelerate your journey to the cloud using the Microsoft SharePoint Migration Tool. Okay, so I believe most of you here might have already explored this tool. So I believe few of you folks might already did some R&D on what this tool is and what it does and all those kind of things. So today we are here to talk in detail about this tool, and we are here to show you some demos on what this tool can do for you and how you can migrate your on-premises workloads to the cloud. So let's get started, and I'd like to welcome you all to this session. Thank you so much for sparing your time on a weekend, and please keep up that momentum. It really feels so motivated to see you folks here today. And before I even go ahead to this session, I'd like to steal 2 or 3 minutes of your time and talk a little bit about few community events that we are doing. So one is the SharePoint Saturday SPS event, folks. So most of you folks are here for either a SharePoint folks or Office 365 folks. So the SharePoint Saturday is a free one-day event which is conducted across different cities in the world, right? So we have one coming up in Bangalore on 1st September, and let's say just go through this website and look for the region which is closer to you, and you're most welcome to go ahead and participate in this. And if at all you want to talk, you can reach out to the organizers and present your topic. It could be on SharePoint or Office 365 or any topic related to SharePoint or Office 365, right? So we have one coming up in Bangalore on 1st September, and so let me just go ahead and open the website for you. So I'd urge you all folks to please come forward for this event, and here's our schedule. Our schedule is announced. So maybe once you're done with this session later, once you have some free time, you're most welcome to go ahead and look at the complete agenda. And apart from that, we also have one coming up in let me just go here. So we have one coming up in our in Ahmedabad as well. So if I go here, view all, so you can see all this the events happening in different parts of the world. Just keep clicking on more events. You could go ahead and look at it. So I believe that one is coming up sometime on November. Yes, 27th October. Yeah, here we go. We have one in Ahmedabad as well. So if at all you're from Ahmedabad or somewhere in a closer city, so please watch out for this event. And myself, Jayanthi, and C# Corner technical community, we are organizing one on Gurgaon on December 1st. So that will be the first SharePoint Saturday event at Gurgaon. You're most welcome to come and attend that. And if you're interested in talking in any of these events, especially which is organized in India, you're most welcome to reach out to me and I can help you folks. Okay. So this is all about SharePoint Saturday. And the next thing which I want to bring to your notice is the Global Office 365 Developer Bootcamp, which is happening across different cities in the world. And I welcome you folks to go ahead and pay attention or take a look at this link here. So these are the different boot camps happening. So we have one in Ahmedabad, Kolkata, and in Coimbatore. It is organized by me, and maybe you can take a look at it and go for the one which is closer to you. Okay, so that's all I want to show about the community event. So let's switch back to our event. Sure, I'll be sending the link on the chat as well, definitely. Okay. So about the speakers, so my name, I'm Vignesh Ganeshan. So I did my MCSE in SharePoint and Office 365. I work as a technical manager for SharePoint and Office 365, and I'm a 3-time C# Corner MVP. I do a lot of blogging, so I'm active on C# Corner, Collab 365 community, European SharePoint community, as well as the Hubfly blog site. So over the years, I've did a lot of Microsoft certifications, which sums up to 10 or 11, I suppose, and that's my blog site down there. So let me go ahead and invite my co-speaker Jayanthi to go ahead and talk about herself.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today, and we ensure to make your minutes valuable. This is Jayanthi, who is C# Corner MVP, Microsoft Certified Technology Specialist, author and speaker. I work as a SharePoint and Office 365 developer, and also I expertise on Dynamic CRM and Power BI. I'm based out of Coimbatore. I'm excited to be here today to demonstrate Microsoft SharePoint Migration Tool. Let's talk in more in a demo session. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
go ahead.
Thank you, Jayanthi. So the targeted audiences for our session today would be Office 365 administrators. So if at all you're playing the role of administering Office 365 services in your organization, such as SharePoint, Exchange, OneDrive, all those different workloads, if you're into that role, so this session is for you. And let's say if you're a SharePoint professional, right? Because our demo today, or our session today, is mainly focusing on the SharePoint migration tool. So if you come from that background, we have some valuable insights for you as well. And then business decision makers, if at all you fit into that role wherein you make some decisions on which tool to go ahead, or how to do the migration, or things of all that sort, then we have some good stuff for you as well. And finally, IT architects, right? So this sort of covers everything. So you would be doing the technical part as well as the business budget, everything of that sort, right? So if you fall under that space, yes, so we have some insights for you as well. So I think we're all pumped up now, so let's get started. So this is going to be our agenda for this evening. So I'll be talking about what's a SharePoint migration. First of all, I believe most of you would already be aware of what is a SharePoint migration, of course, but then let me help you understand what is my view of a SharePoint migration, right? Just to set the context right. And then why to migrate your on-premises workloads to the cloud, right? So that should be a need. Without a need, you're not going to do anything, right? So what is that compelling need for you to migrate your on-premises workloads to the cloud? And the next is introduction to the Microsoft SharePoint Migration Tool. We are going to introduce the tool to you, and then followed by that, we are going to talk about the hardware and software requirements for this tool. So similar to any other product, even this has some hardware and software requirements, and we are going to help you understand what that is. And setting the right expectations. Of course, I believe most of you folks might have joined this session today with some expectations, right? And I want to make it right. I do not want to, come up with some attractive words and say that this is such a fantastic tool, this can do all that crazy stuff. So to be very honest, this is not such kind of a tool, but yes, it has moments, right? So let's see what that is. So demo on the Microsoft SharePoint Migration Tool. So Jayanthi is going to lead this. She's going to show a complete demo on the various scenarios, or how you can migrate, what are the workloads you can migrate, what are the different controls you have with this tool, right? And she's got a lot of exciting stuff to show to you folks today. And comparison with other third-party tools. This is really key, because I believe when you're here, you're going to compare this tool with different third-party tools. And let me set the right expectation. As I said, this is not a fancy tool such as your Metalogix or Docave or your ShareGate or whatever tool you've been using, right? But still, I would like to show a comparison so that you can see it for yourself. So what happens behind the scenes when you use this tool? Because of course, with this tool, you're going to migrate your on-premises workloads to the cloud, which means you're transmitting data over the internet, right? So what really happens, how secure is this tool, what happens behind the scenes, things of all that sort will be covered in this section. So PowerShell module, right? So recently Microsoft has announced the PowerShell module for this, which means you can use PowerShell also to perform a migration using this tool. And we are going to talk about that. So I'm going to finally express my opinion on what is my take on this tool. We'll do a recap and we are going to conclude. So this is certainly going to be our agenda for today, and for the next 1 hour or so, we are going to talk about all this stuff. So what's a SharePoint migration ideally, right? I believe it simply boils down to this: moving to the latest and greatest platform, expanding your SharePoint footprint. So whatever you've been doing, when you say SharePoint footprint, it could be your intranet, it could be your extranet, and it could be anything, right? You might be running SharePoint 2013 on premises, 2010 on premises, or 2016 on premises, and we even have 2019, which is on preview now, right? So it is expanding your SharePoint footprint to the cloud, right? And transforming what you have been doing with these different versions of SharePoint. So 2003 and 2007, these are legacy versions of SharePoint, right? And 2010, in another few years, even that would be counted as a legacy version of SharePoint. So today, predominantly, if you think about the on-premises footprints of SharePoint across the organizations, it is either 2013 or 2016. As far as I can tell, I believe 2013 is stable across different enterprises, because when 2016 came into the market, I believe Office 365 was already leading everywhere, right? So in a nutshell, a SharePoint migration is nothing but just moving to the cloud so that you can take advantage of all those features in the cloud and you can enhance the way you're doing business. So that's what it really boils down to, right? Well, it's just not that, right? Because once you're moving to the cloud, you're not just talking about SharePoint. It is just not about site collection, sites and libraries and all that stuff, right? We have this cool services, right? To begin with, you have your SharePoint communication site and your SharePoint modern theme site, right? So folks who come from a developer background, you know the kind of pain or the kind of effort that you have to put into to develop a site with such a great UI, right? So that is not really possible, right? And then we have your Microsoft Teams, which is, of course, anybody who knows Teams, you know that it is the backend is an Office 365 group, and within Office 365 group, you're going to get a SharePoint team site, you're going to get a shared mailbox, a shared OneNote planner, and all that stuff. And then you have Microsoft Forms, which is sort of replacing your this SharePoint survey list. So with your modern team site, you can also go ahead and create a Microsoft form today, right? And then, as I just spoke about your Office 365 groups, then you have Microsoft Planner. So the backend of Planner is also SharePoint. If at all you paid attention, there are bits and pieces of it which talks to SharePoint in the Microsoft infrastructure. And then we have your Microsoft Flow, which is really super awesome tool, because for years we as SharePoint developers or administrators, we were sitting and developing all those crazy workflows. And today, thanks to Microsoft Flow, every end user out there can go ahead and create his own flow and do whatever he wants with that, right? And then finally, we have Power Apps, which is sort of replacing your InfoPath forms. You can create all those cool mobile apps kind of stuff using your Power Apps. So the idea here is, when you're moving to SharePoint Online, you're just not moving to the next SharePoint version or to the cloud version of SharePoint. You're getting all this stuff along with this, right? Of course, licensing is a part of it. It depends upon which licensing you're going to and all those things, yes. But still, you can take advantage of all these great features as well. So why to even migrate? So now that's a big question, right? Why should I even migrate my on-premises workloads to the cloud? What is that I'm going to gain out of it? So now, first point is, managing external user access is much easier. For anybody of us, I believe most of you folks might have already worked on your SharePoint on-premises as well. And mainly SharePoint administrators, you know the kind of pain which you have to go through when you want to set up external access for a SharePoint on-premises site, right? Either you're going to do forms-based authentication, or you're going to do something with ADFS, and there is a lot that you have to do. And even developers, there is some sort of inputs which is required from you as well. And managing the external users account here in the databases, there's a lot of crazy stuff that you want to do when you want to share your site externally with your partners or with your vendors or with your with your customers. So with SharePoint Online, things have become very simple, right? So it is all about, you go ahead and turn on the external sharing in your tenant, and then you add the domains that you want in your tenant, and then you come down and you can just go ahead and add that domain to your site collection, and you can say, hey, you can go ahead and share all your SharePoint, all the entire contents from this site collection with this domain, and you can go ahead and collaborate. So it really is that simple when you move to SharePoint Online. Kill off that network shared with OneDrive for Business. So when we were in the world of on-premises, we all were given access to a network shared folder, right? As a team or maybe as an individual, wherein we'll dump all our documents or all our setup files or executable files or whatever stuff that we are working with, right? So we used to put that into our network share, and we'll create multiple folders with different security layers and make sure that our content is secured there. But that's not the case anymore when you move to SharePoint Online, right? Specifically with OneDrive for Business, because you have 1 terabyte of storage in the cloud, which can be accessible from your office or from your home network and even from your mobile device or any device for that matter. Get new SharePoint features and updates first. Choose to be on the bleeding edge or more stable. This is again really the key, because as long as you're in SharePoint on premises, the new features which Microsoft rolls out won't be reaching you as fast as they reach SharePoint Online, because SharePoint Online is being run on Microsoft's infrastructure. So all the source code or everything, Microsoft does it. They deliver it through different channels. We have all the updates coming into the cloud first, but that's not the case when it comes to SharePoint on premises. For example, the communication site and the group modern team site, which has been around in SharePoint Online for quite few months, you can see that only in SharePoint 2019 on-premises version. So it means that you really have to wait for the next on-premises version to release to take advantage of all these new features. So with cloud, you're anytime entitled to go ahead and take advantage of those features. You can access SharePoint Online from everywhere because it is a cloud service, which means All you need is an internet connection. You can access it from any device, any device, any location. It doesn't really matter. And for security, you could have MFA and all those things put in place, but really you can access it from any network. You can easily scale up your environment up and down. So as your users grow in on-premises, that's not the case. As your users grow, or as the workloads or the dependency on SharePoint increases, you have to go ahead and scale up or scale out your farm. But that's not the case when it comes to your Office 365, right? The way Office 365 works is pay as you grow. In Azure, we call it as pay as you go. In Office 365, we call it as pay as you grow, which means today, me as an organization, I have 3,000 users, and I'm paying Microsoft for that. Tomorrow, I onboard another 1,000 users. I'm simply going to pay another put to Microsoft for the remaining, for the extra 1,000 licenses, and I can, extend my SharePoint site to those 3,000 employees who have joined my organization. I'm not really going to do anything on the infrastructure, right? I don't need to bother about that. All I'm concerned is about only the licenses, right? So reliability, which is really the key. As long as you're running with SharePoint on premises, you cannot guarantee a 99.99% SLA, because in on premises, things are bound to break down. It's either it could be just because of you, or maybe maybe because of some other application, or we know that we often used to have P1s, right? Crazy P1s wherein we are sitting and troubleshooting. It could be either because of the SharePoint infrastructure, or it could be because of the SQL or the Windows operating system, and the list goes on. But that's not the case when it comes to the cloud, right? There are very few scenarios, very limited, wherein the entire SharePoint service was down, right? I think roughly a few months back we had one specifically for APAC. But apart from that, I don't really think, wherein there could be a few scenarios wherein there is a specific feature or functionality which has been broken and Microsoft is working on it. But there has never been a scenario wherein the entire service, the SharePoint service itself, went down. So Microsoft guarantee you like 99.99% SLA. So turn CapEx into OpEx. So what I mean by this is, so when you're thinking from a business standpoint, right? So with your Office 365 or SharePoint Online adoption, you can convert your capital expenditure into operational expenditure. So what I mean by that is, you as an IT person, or you as a decision maker, you would be given certain budget to go ahead and plan your SharePoint infrastructure, do all those crazy things, which comes under your capital expenditure, right? When you're moving to Office 365, I don't think you even need to concentrate about all those things, because you're going to take care of the licenses. Microsoft is going to take care of the infrastructure, and you're going to only focus on the operational expenditure, which means you're going to be only concerned about how I'm going to operate it. You're not going to be concerned about how I'm going to implement it, what I'm going to do with it, the are the remaining pieces. So maybe you can use that budget to focus on how could I train my employees on SharePoint Online, all the new features on SharePoint Online, and things of that stuff. So if you're a business decision maker, I'd urge you all to go ahead and read about Office 365 CapEx into OpEx model. It is really a great, interesting article out there, which I really want you folks to go ahead and read. So security, yes, because for years we've been telling that I'm not going to move to the cloud. If you talk to any CIOs like 3 to 4 years back, they would be expressing their concern that I do not think that the cloud is really a secure place to go. But things have changed now, right? A couple of months back, I did a session on Office 365 security and compliance, where I've explained in detail about the different security controls which you have for Office 365 and specifically for SharePoint Online, right? Because in Office 365 we have data at data in transit, data at rest. We have security controls out there, right? And there are so many other things such as your AIP, and the list keeps going on and on and on, which we really have into. And then we have the defense in-depth approach. There are so many things. I urge you all to folks to go ahead and read about Office 365 Trust Center to understand in detail about the security policies which Microsoft has inbuilt for your SharePoint Online workloads. So free up IT staff, no more maintenance. Yes, which means you do not want to sit and patch your environment on the weekends, right? You should not sit to patch it and scale up your environment by adding one more front end. And let's say a business requirement comes in that I need to build a new SharePoint farm. So things of all that sort are gone. You just pay the licenses and you're done. Your users can go ahead and start using that service. And compliance, which is really a key, because you're using a enterprise content management platform, which means you are entitled or you're bound to all those compliance things. You just cannot have your users information leaked out somewhere, or you just cannot have some confidential information sitting on a SharePoint Online site which is public to everyone in the organization, right? So with compliance, of course, Office 365 as a service has many compliance policies into, such as your ISO standard, your GDPR, and the list goes on, right? So Office 365 as a service is certified with all this compliance framework which we have in the industry. So when you're purchasing this, you don't even need to bother about that. So there's a link down there which I've given. So once I'm sharing the slide with you folks later, please go ahead and read at it and gain some insight. So when you're talking to your customers about SharePoint Online and why you need to move to it, this would be really a good info to share with them. So introducing the Microsoft SharePoint Migration Tool. So let me set the context here properly. So this tool, it's going to help to migrate your lists or files from your SharePoint on-premises document libraries or from your on-premises file shares to either SharePoint Online or OneDrive for Business. So the first word is really the key. This tool is going to only help you to move your libraries or files or lists from SharePoint on-premises to online. That's it, right? And if at all you have some contents on file shares, on your network shares, you can take advantage of this tool to move them from your on-premises file shares to SharePoint Online. Okay. And this is available to all Office 365 users, which is once again really a key factor, which means you do not need to be a global admin or a SharePoint admin to use this tool. Any user who has access to a SharePoint site on the on-premises as well as online, he can just go ahead and start using this tool. All he needs is the permission model will be demonstrated by Jayanthi during her session, but then any user can go ahead and use this tool because it's totally free and it doesn't demand you to have any global admin access or SharePoint service admin access. And this tool is currently not available for users of Office 365 operated via 21 ViaNet in China or users for Office 365 Germany. So if you are maybe if you're working for any customer, a China-based customer or Germany, so the point which I want to deliver is this tool is currently not available for you because in China, if at all, due to their data regulatory laws, Office 365 there is not operated by Microsoft. We have a company there called as 21 ViaNet, which is operating Office 365, Azure, and even IBM Cloud for that matter. So they are the ones who are taking care of Office 365 there. And when it comes to Germany, it's even not Microsoft there because they have their own regulatory laws, the EU classes, the GDPR, and there is a lot of regulations which they have in place, right? They do not want their data sitting in a different region which is not bound within their boundaries. So I think in Germany, Office 365 is operated using T-Mobile. I'm not really sure, but you can just go ahead and read about it. But then as of today, this tool is not available for customers from China as well as customers from Germany. Migrate your contents just with right access to the destination. All you need is right access to the destination site. Of course, you need access to the source as well, because only then it means that you can access that site. But then when it comes to the migration, all you have to have is just right access. And you can go ahead and take advantage of this tool and you can run it. And this tool, it currently only supports your SharePoint 2013 on-premises version. So if you're a customer who's running SharePoint 2010 or any legacy version of SharePoint, or if you're on SharePoint 2016, I'm sorry folks, this tool is not for you. If you're only using SharePoint 2013 on-premises version, then this tool is for you. Okay. Different versions released so far. So this tool itself has seen different releases right from the day it was introduced. Okay, so that is the link there. So with different versions, Microsoft has introduced different features, right? For instance, this tool, the major version was the version 1 and the version 2. With version 2, they brought in many new features such as doing a bulk migration, using CSV file for migration, JSON, and much more things which Jayanthi is going to demo to you. So this has no, it doesn't work with SharePoint 2016. As I clearly mentioned there, this tool is only for SharePoint 2013 as an on-premises version. You cannot use this for any different version of SharePoint. Okay. Yep, it doesn't work for 2010 as well. Yeah. So that is a reference link which I want you folks to read. And hardware and software requirements, right? So this is the hardware and software requirements for this tool. So please go ahead and take a look for yourself. So similar to any other product, even this tool demands you to have some, a good number of hardware and software requirements. And this is, if at all you're interested, you can go ahead and take a look at it. And then setting the right expectations. So folks, please pay attention to this part, because I do not want you to folks to have a different expectation on this tool and then say that, this is not going to work for me, because this is not a fancy SharePoint migration tool such as your ShareGate, Metalogix, AvePoint, or Docave. Beat that, right? Which means that using this tool today, You can only do the migration which I talked about, such as list, document libraries, migrating from your file share. That's it, period. You cannot go ahead and do all those fancy stuff, such as, getting all those good reports which you see on ShareGate, right? Because using with ShareGate and Metalogics, you can also do governance. You can create reports, you can remove some permissions, you can add some permissions. All those crazy stuff can be done using your Metalogics or ShareGate or any tool for that matter. But this tool is not for that. Okay, free to use, no license required. There is absolutely no license required as of today from Microsoft. Maybe down the line, if this tool grows bigger, who knows, it might be licensed, but as of today, it's totally free to use. This tool can only be used to migrate small on-premises workloads such as lists, files, and documents to SP Online. This is something which I've been telling quite often, so please pay attention to that. It cannot perform a complete SP site migration. So using all those third-party tools which I've mentioned on point one, you can migrate a complete site collection itself. But that's not possible with this tool. You can just specify a document library in your on-premises site and then migrate that contents from there to online. When Jayanthi is showing you in her demo, you'll see it for yourself. It cannot migrate content between two SP on-premises site. Once again, you cannot do migration between from a lower on-premises version to a high prompt, such as from your SP 2013 to 2016. No, that's not possible. This tool is only meant from your SharePoint Server 2013 to SharePoint Online. That's it. Doesn't support the vice versa scenario. Even that is something. You should not be performing a migration from SP Online to SharePoint on-premises, which means from SP Online to your SharePoint 2013 form. Even that's not possible. Okay. How about file share to SP 2016? No, nope. This cannot support that as well. Cannot be used to perform cross-tenant migration. Let's say your company is into some merger and acquisitions, or let's say you as a company, you have purchased a different company and they're also in Office 365, right? And you want to migrate from your tenant to their tenant. Even that's also not possible today. Okay, maybe it's in there in their roadmap. Maybe it might come, because I believe most of the customers would be looking for this, right? So network bandwidth and PC performance will influence the speed of your migration. So please be mindful about that, because you're uploading contents, you're writing contents from your on-premises data center to Microsoft's data center, which where SharePoint Online is hosted. So please make sure that you have a proper bandwidth. So in terms of bandwidth, there is no specific numbers, because of course when you're deploying Office 365, you would have did your bandwidth calculation and all that stuff. So that is more than enough here. Okay. So with these expectations, I do not want you folks to think that, nah, this tool is not really something which I'm looking for, or maybe I'm not really that interested. As I said, this tool has its moments, and we are really going to show you what it can do. And this can be used for your small migrations and things of that sort. So please sit and watch. Okay, now it's demo time, folks. And in our demo, this is what we are going to show you today. We are going to give you a complete walkthrough of the tool, the different controls, the different features of this tool. We are going to perform a migration from file share to SharePoint Online. And then we are going to perform a migration from SharePoint on-premises to online, wherein we would be migrating your document libraries from on-premise to online, your list from on-premises to online. And yes, it is just not one single such migration. We can also do bulk migration and incremental migration. Okay. And we are also going to show you the different migration scenarios supported by this tool. Permission mapping. This is really the key, because you folks would be having questions on, let's say I have my on-premises identities and I'm syncing my Active Directory users to AAD, or maybe I do not even have such concept, right? I'm not running AAD Connect at all. My identities are not synced. Then what can I do about it? So we also have those things here. Understanding the migration reports, similar to any other migration tool, this also gives you some useful reports, and Jayanthi is going to help you understand what those reports are and how you can understand those reports. And of course, PowerShell support. As I said, with version 2, the PowerShell module has been released. So we are going to show you like how you can take advantage of the PowerShell module and perform a migration. Okay. So Jayanthi, are you all good to go ahead and start the demo?
Yeah.
Okay, just give me a minute. Let me just go ahead and make you as the presenter. All right, it's all yours now.
All right. Thank you, Ignesh. So hope you all clear now what this tool is all about. So could you guys quickly comment on chat that you can hear me well and see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay. We are in time now. Let's get into the demo and see how to explore this tool and its powerful features, which helps to streamline our migration process. I'm sure by end of the demo, we will all come to know how this tool comes to handy for simpler migration. So let me switch my screen. So here I just logged into my SharePoint Online Modern Team site, so which is designed to track all my project-related documents. So here is the project document repository. As you see in the screen, as of now, this document library is empty. So I just prepared some project templates that located in my file share that I want to migrate it to be here. So for this, I need a migration tool. So let's see how this tool is smart enough to migrate all my file share files to SharePoint Online. So to get started, just make sure you install this SharePoint migration tool in your machine. So this one, in my case, this is Windows 10 client machine. I just install this. Let me go ahead and open it. So when you launch this SharePoint migration tool, the first thing you have to do here is sign in to get started. So here is the sign in button. Then you will be prompted to enter your Office 65 username and password. That make sure you are entering your destination site credential. So let me go ahead and enter my credential. Then I'll enter the password. So it will authenticate properly with my Office 65 site. Let's wait for a while. So once you get signed in, then it will ask you the source. So where is your data? So maybe your data will be in your SharePoint on-premise or in file share. Or if you construct bulk migration, then you can propose some CSV or JSON file. We'll see these different scenarios one by one, how to migrate content from file share to SharePoint online, and how to migrate content from SharePoint on-premise to online, and how to do bulk migration. First, let me choose file share. And it will ask you to enter the location of the path. So here is where I just have some project templates in my local file share. So I have some, for demo purpose, I have only minimal documents. I also have one, additionally have one more MP4 file. Let's see if we could skip this file while migrating the content. So let me copy the path over here and paste it. And click next. Then it will ask you the destination site URL. Just go back and copy URL destination site URL. So I just copy, don't copy the full URL. I just copy the SharePoint site collection URL. Just paste it here. Then it will list out all the list of document libraries. Then you can choose which document library you want to migrate all your file share content. So let's wait. Yeah. This is where I just want to migrate all my local file share content. Let me choose document library and add. So see here, I just added one task here. If you require, then you just go ahead and add multiple tasks. Let's say you have some different files in it, some other drives. Maybe you want to particularly want to migrate some of the subfolder contents to your SharePoint Online. If required, you can go and add multiple tasks. So before clicking this migrate option, so you could see some settings option at right corner. So let me click on that. So let's see what else can we do with this migration tool. So here, so only perform scanning. So if it is set it off, then it will help you to perform only this scanning. Let's say if you wish to scan only your files, scan your files as a pre-assessment to migration, then you can turn it on. Then here's the good thing here is you can do incremental migration. So it will help you to migrate only the changes or additions since from the previous run. So if you have migrated some contents, then next time you are migrating the same job, that will help you to migrate only the recent changes that's happened in your files. So just make it as on and migrate all side fields and content types. By default, it's set it off. Just make as it is. Migrate file version. So here is a question here is from all of you whether it migrate all the versions. Yes, it can. So by default, it will make it on so that it will migrate all your versions to SharePoint Online as it is. Yes, keep all versions that make as it is, keep this on, and migrate hidden files. Let's say if you have some hidden files in your on-premise, I mean local file share, then if you don't want to migrate those hidden folders to SharePoint Online, that make it off. And here's the good thing is you can migrate files created after and before. Let's say you're working on some network file share, there you're managing some documents from since 2010. Now you want to migrate only the documents recently added, let's say recently added in the year of 2018. Then you just go ahead and pick a date. This is files created after you want to migrate something that's created after 2018 Jan, and this option migrate files modified after. If you want, you can mention the date as well. So here I just want to skip some file extensions, right? As you could see here is have some 3 documents, additionally have one more mp4 document. I don't want to migrate this file to my SharePoint Modern Team site. Let me migrate these 3. So let me go ahead and restrict this file extension here, mp4. And if you want to do additional restriction, just to make a colon, and if you want to say I just want to migrate restrict migrate all my PDF documents, then just put colon. And here migrate files and folders with invalid characters. Let's make it on. So this is the recommended settings. If there is any something invalid character in your file share, that will migrate to all your files to SharePoint Online. So just make it as on as it is, and migrate OneNote folder as one notebook. So here in this case, by default, this is set to off. When set to off, OneNote folders will not migrate over as a notebook. So at this time, the ability to migrate notebooks on SharePoint on-premise also is disabled. So here, Azure Active Directory lookup. By default, when you open this launch the SharePoint migration tool, this is set to on. If no user mapping file is provided by the user, then Azure Active Directory is used as the default for user mapping. Let's make as it is on. And you can say preserve user permission. Like, if you want to migrate all the contents and permissions as it is, set yes. And skip list with audience targeting enabled. Let's say here some SharePoint on-premise list with audience targeting enabled. Then what you can do while migrating the content, it will be passed. Then it will ask you the user, and I'll ask you to confirm whether it will go ahead and continue to migrate this SharePoint list or not. So after getting confirmation from user, it will automatically migrate your audience targeting list to SharePoint online. And here's something here, user mapping file. Let's say, Azure AD lookup is used to map users when submitting your migration job. Let's say you have Active Directory is not synchronizing with your Azure AAD, Azure Active Directory. In that case, what you can do, you can create your own user mapping file that, let's say, have some users in my Active Directory. I just want to map those set of users into my SharePoint Online. You can create your own mapping file so that your permissions will be migrated as it is to SharePoint Online. So I'll show it in the demo how to create a user mapping file. And the next thing you can see here is SharePoint Migration Tool working folder. See here, by default, all your migration job log reports will be stored in this path. So let me go here, percentage app data percentage, go to Microsoft and this migration tool. So you can see here different tenant reports will be stored here. If you want, you can change this path to some other drive if required. And you use Azure custom storage. Let's say if you want to use your own custom storage in Azure, then you can make it on. Then it will ask you to enter the ID, and it will ask you to enter your Azure storage account. So all your log reports will be stored in your Azure blob storage. So instead of keeping all your log reports in your local drive, all log reports will be managed in your Azure blob storage. So as of now, I'm just migrating my file share content to SharePoint Online. So let me restrict only this one. And I'll just make it skip all my versions will be migrated to SharePoint Online. So just click Save and then click Migrate. So the moment you click Migrate at the back end, it will try to scan all your local source files, and then it will package, and then it will import your package files into Azure storage, and then all your data will be migrated to SharePoint Online. So it started scanning my local source files. Yes, total scan is done. So totally 4 files it scanned. So now it started to migrate all the contents to SharePoint Online. So let's say if there's something errors happen, the tool is smart enough to rerun once again itself, and it will fix the issues if there are any, and it will rerun the migration once again, and it will migrate all your contents to SharePoint Online. So see here, checking changes, and let's see it is retrying any failures or not. Yeah. So once the migration is completed, the bar returns green bar. Then it will ask you, so the migration is finished. Do you want to keep this migration for future incremental runs? Click yes, so that if you want to do the same job again, then only the incremental changes will be migrated to your SharePoint Online. And you can see here the view task report and the open report. So there's something here, view task report will help you to give a individual task report details. Let's say you are adding one more task, I just migrating a content from some other C drive or E drive. You can give an individual task report. You just go ahead and see the task report. Let's see how many files are scanned and what is the size of the source path, and how many files are migrated. If there is any issues, then you can see it in a task related report. So whereas come to open report, it will give you the overall summary reports. So what are the tasks you added, then it will give you the overall report. Like say how many tasks are performed, and how many files are migrated totally, and what's your destination site and what's your source site. So you can see all the details over here. If something's failure, you can see it in a failure summary report. So as you could see here is in the Excel sheet. So you can see the source path, this is the destination path, the status is completed, and this is what the total size of the source path, and the migrated content size, and if there is any warning, no, it's migrated successfully, and when the migration started and when it's ended. So you can see all the details over here. Okay, now let me go back and see whether the content is migrated or not. So let me refresh the screen. See here. So that MP4 file is skipped is just migrated only this Office applications, Word and Excel files. So hope you clear now. So how we can migrate our local file share to SharePoint Online. Even if you are working with the network file share, that also this tool will help you to migrate all your network share files to SharePoint Online. So now let's go ahead and see in the case if you want to migrate content from SharePoint on-premise 2013 to SharePoint Online. So let me open my demo setup. So as you see in the screen, this is SharePoint Server 2013. So the classic theme site, help desk system. So I have some document repository over here. So as you see here, some documents created from different users, some Word applications and Excel applications are there from different users, AD users. And I have some custom list, for managing all my help desk engineer details. This is something is a master list, department list. And here you could see here is help desk engineers, where you could see all the engineer details. So here I have one lookup column. I just look up this department field from another list. So here is the question whether this tool smart enough to migrate all the lookup fields. So we have two different lists. I just have some relationship between this two lists, and I have mapping the lookup column department from the other list. So let's go ahead and see how this tool smart enough to migrate this document library and SharePoint list. So now the question here is, when I say SharePoint on-premise to SharePoint Online migration, what happens to the permissions on a file when it's migrated? So, in order to maintain existing on-premise file permission, there must be a corresponding user in SharePoint Online, right? So this is the easy way you can synchronize your Active Directory accounts to Azure Active Directory. But in my demo setup, I'm not synchronizing my active users to Azure Active Directory. So what I can do, let me go ahead and create my own user mapping file. So let me show you the sample user mapping file, how it looks. So all you need is 3 column values. The first you can see here is the SID of the AD user. I mean the security identifier ID of the AD user. The second you can see here is the SharePoint Online user principal ID. That's your account ID. And the third one is whether this is individual user ID or a group ID. If it is an individual user, you can make it as a false. If there is something you are migrating some groups, you can make it as true. So as of now, I have 3 users in my local AD. I just make it as false. So now let me go ahead and start the tool, and we'll start to migrate our SharePoint on-premise 2013 content to SharePoint Online. So let me go ahead and launch this tool. So as Vignesh explained, you can install this tool in Windows Server 2008 or Windows Server 2012. So let me sign in. It will ask you to enter the credential of your destination site. So let me enter my destination site credential. Click next. Then it will ask you the password. Just click sign in. Let's try to sign in with my SharePoint online site. So make sure you have right access to the destination site. Then it will ask you the source. Where is your data? So I'm just going to migrate data from SharePoint on-premise. Then it will ask you the site URL. So let me go ahead and copy the site URL. So this is my site collection URL. Let me go ahead and copy it and paste it here. So once you click next, then it will ask you to enter your on-premise site credential. So let me enter my username and password. Then click next. Then it will ask you whether you want to migrate all list and libraries or you want to migrate only the specific documents or list. So I want to migrate my documents and lists. Let me click migrate all list and libraries. Click next. So then, if you don't have any destination site with the name, this tool is smart enough to create a site collections for you. So I don't have any site with the name help desk. Let us go and cross check. So you can see here this is my SharePoint online modern teams, parent site. So this is something I don't have any site like this, but I want to migrate all this content to particular the same site. I have a help desk system in my on-premise site. I would like to migrate the same contents with the same name, site collection name. So let me go ahead, let me keep as it is, site/help desk. So this tool smart enough to perform the site collection URL. So if your on-premise site name is help desk, by default your SharePoint online site will be structured as a help desk system. Then click next. So you can see here, this site will be created for you. So it will identify whether the site is already present or not. If not, it will create a new site for you. Click next. Yeah, now this job is added. So now the thing you can do here is you want to map the user file. So we have created our own user mapping files, right? So let me go ahead and map it. So here is the user mapping file. Let me map it and click save. Then click migrate. So now it will start to migrate my contents. So all my SharePoint list and document libraries have only one document library and two lists with the lookup relationship. So let's just take a little while. Let's wait for that. So meanwhile, let's see. In some cases, if you close this tool before migration job is completed, what happened? So you have added 2 to 4 tasks, but unfortunately you have closed this tool. No worries. You just go ahead and open this tool from any computer with the same credential. Then it will help you to migrate your previous migration jobs. It will keep your all the previous migration jobs that you have initiated. That will keep it in your my site hidden files. Then whenever you open this tool, then it will help you to show the previous migration jobs. So these are the previous migration jobs, whether you would like to continue with that or you would like to migrate your contents from the new source. So it's now start scanning my file. Okay, let it be. Let's move on to the next part. Then we'll come back whether the tool it's migrated all my documents or not. So now let's take a scenario like you have many sources. So now you hope you all have an understanding like how to migrate file share to SharePoint Online and SharePoint on-premise to SharePoint Online. So now in the case, I just want to migrate content from different sources. Have some contents in my local file share and have some contents in my SharePoint on-premise and even have some contents in my SharePoint on-premise my site. So how to migrate all these files to SharePoint Online? So in that case, you just go ahead and create a CSV file for bulk migration. On top of that, now Microsoft also helps to structure a JSON file format will help you to migrate all your contents in a single batch. So let's see now. how to do that. So when you do user mapping, this tool take a little delay to migrate your content. So before that, let's go ahead and see the bulk migration procedure. This is a sample file for bulk migration I just created now. It's opening. So see here. So I have some folders in my local file share. So the all the thing you need is you need a 6 columns. First 3 are your source file, source values. You have a parameter values or not. You at least you have to mention this 6 columns as it is. You don't want to mention the header rows like this is what my path, source path, this is what my source parent folder like that. Don't create any header file in a CSV file. So just give the values in the 6 column.
Hello, Jayanthi, are you there with us? Folks, can you hear Jayanthi? Please put that in the chat.
No.
No, Vignesh.
All right, let me check. Hang on. Jayanthi, we can't hear you. Jayanthi, we are not able to hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
can you hear
Yes.
me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Good.
Okay. So you could see here this smart enough. This the migration is completed. So let me go ahead and click yes. So just go back to the screen and see whether the site is created for us. So let me go to this documents. Yeah, see here. This uses map as it is, Suganti and Pavitra. Yes, this is where you could see here the same documents which is created by them. This will be mapped with the user principal name, SharePoint Online. And let's go and see whether the list are migrated properly. So department list. So this is where I just managed all the department names. Yes, it's migrator. And these help desk engineers. So let's see whether the lookup column is mapped properly here. Yeah, it's a department. Yeah, see here. So it's this lookup will be mapped with your SharePoint Online master list. So there's a master list department. I just mapped here for help desk engineer list. This map properly. So this is where you can migrate your SharePoint on-premise documents and list. So no worries if you have any views which you have created in your SharePoint list, that also will be migrated over here. If there is any metadata you have created, that also migrated to here. And also it will migrate all your versions. So there is any version history you have managed in your SharePoint document repository, that also will be managed over here as it is. So now let's go back and see the bulk user migration. So you can see this is different scenarios. So one is file share to SharePoint Online. This is a source path. So let's say in your local file share, if you have any parent folder, just mention the parent folder name. And this is your parent subfolder name. If you have, then you can mention it, or otherwise keep as it is blank. And this destination site URL, which is the target URL you're going to migrate. And this is the target document library. And this is this column for target subfolder. If you have any subfolder that you want to migrate all your contents there, instead of migrating all your contents in parent folder, you can mention this subfolder name. The second scenario here is this is SharePoint on-premise 2013 classic theme site. So I have some documents in that. I'm just going to migrate SharePoint Online modern theme site with the same name. And here, this is my SharePoint 2013 online. I mean, SharePoint 2013 my site. So whereas I have some documents in my SharePoint on-premise my site, I'm going to migrate the same to OneDrive for Business, SharePoint Online. So let me, I don't want
Jayanthi,
to
is there any way
do
to
it.
metadata?
I'm sorry?
Is there any way to update metadata during the migration, or we are just migrating the files and the same metadata will be applied?
Same metadata will be applied.
Okay.
And after that, you have updated any metadata in your on-premise, then you have to do incremental sync, then that will be migrated over there.
Okay, but during the migration, we can't update any metadata, right?
Correct, exactly.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So have this site, let me migrate this content into new site. I just don't want to migrate as it is. Let me change the name. I just want to name it as a help desk system or something. It will create a new site for me. And this is, as I said, this is SharePoint on-premise my site. This is OneDrive for Business target site. So make sure in your on-premise site, your document library name will be different. This is my docs. And whereas in your OneDrive for Business, your document library name is documents. So with this, we can do some bulk migration over now. So the one is file share to SharePoint Online migration, on-premise SharePoint Server 2013 to SharePoint Online migration. And the third thing is SharePoint I am on-premise my site to OneDrive for Business migration. Let's see how it works. Just click close the previous job. So, and make sure that every time it will ask you to sign in. So let me go ahead and enter my destination site credential. So I'll entering my password. Click sign in. So it will sign in with my SharePoint Online. Once it gets signed in, it will ask me the source. Now I'll do the bulk migration. Choose this path. So this too is clear, I hope. Let me choose for bulk migration. So I have this CSV file in my folder. This is for bulk migration. Let me open it and click add. So after adding, just make sure that mapping file is still there. So it will read each row. So whether you have given a proper condition, let's say if there is all the 6 parameters are there. So if you leave it the source, parent folder or subfolder name, it won't throw you the error. But if you are migrating the SharePoint on-premise, then if you are specifically giving some SharePoint source site, on-premise source site, then it will ask you to enter the parent folder name or subfolder name. Those parameters are required. Now there is no error. It will ask me, I have a 2 set of tasks, right? SharePoint on-premise to SharePoint online. For that, I need to authenticate with properly. So let me go ahead and enter my SharePoint on-premise site credential. So below is my site credential. Make sure you have access to migrate your user file. My site user files. So I have access to that account. Let's say I'm just migrating this user account, Pavitra SPTech, this account to the same account I just want to map it into OneDrive for Business. So I have access to this account. I'm a site collection administrator for this account. Me as an admin have a site collection administrator permission. So let me enter my credential here. Click add. Now you can see each and every row will be added as a different task. So one is file share, the second thing is SharePoint on-premise, and the third one is my site. So let me go ahead and cross check whether the user mapping file is done. Yeah, this is already there. So make sure you map this file so that all your permissions will be migrated as it is along with the files. Just click save and migrate. So then it will start to scan all your 3 different source files, and it will generate the scan report and the migration report and the global summary report. And if it is any failure, then it will create a failure report as well. Yeah, the first task and third task is started. Scanning is done. This migration is going on. Second thing is I just looking for a user mapping. Yeah, this too is done. So now it's trying to migrate my site to one for business. Meanwhile, let's look into this. This is my this is a user account Pavitra. It's sptechie.on Microsoft. This is empty now. Let's wait for a while to migrate my site contents. So you could see here I have some contents in that site. My does have only one document in my site. So let's see whether it's migrated or not. Yeah, the job is done. So go back and see. Yeah, this report is created with the same username, Pavitra. And also, you could see the global summary report. So let me open the summary report. So first thing, I just migrated project task into this one. So let me go ahead and check. So let me go to the document capacity. Yeah, this report is created. And the second thing is this one, SharePoint on-premise. So it is a site. Yeah, this is migrated as it is. And one day for business. So let me go back to that account. Just click F. Yes, this is also done. Now let's see. Microsoft also support the JSON file structure. You can you can structure your all your bulk migration task in a JSON format, and then you can migrate with it. You can do bulk migration in a CSV format, or you can do it in a JSON format. So let's go ahead and have a look on that, how the JSON format looks like. So let me open this. So as of now for demo, I just mentioned two different set of tasks. So I have some documents, materials, have some project related materials in my C drive. So I'm just going to migrate this site collection, have a modern team site called materials. Let me move into that. And here I've entered the shows path as it is. So what are the things you are doing in the CSV format? The same thing you can do it here. The only thing is your structure as a JSON format. So you can parent, you can make it as a task, and each and every parameter in this separate parenthesis, you can add each and every individual task. And here see the target list related path. Say if you want to give any subfolder name, you can give it here. And below that, I'm just migrating this classic team site, SP S12 site/dev, and I just migrating this same to site/material, this document. So I'm here, the first task, I'm just migrating the document library. The second task, I'm just migrating the SharePoint custom list. I have a SharePoint custom list called EMP employee details in my SharePoint on-premise site. The same list I'm trying to migrate into SharePoint online modern team site. If there is any subsite documents or a list on that, you can mention in this parameter. Now it's good. I just have only two tasks. Let me go ahead and run this tool. And make sure at single instance you can only run one tenant migration. If you'd like to do multiple tenant, that you can't do with this tool. Let me enter the SharePoint online credential. Click next and the password. Sign in. So it will, yeah. So now let me choose the source. Now let me map the JSON file format. So here is a file. So when you save the file, you just make it as .json. So while do the bulk migration, there will be two options: CSV, JSON. Else, while do CSV file, that file action should be .csv, JSON file format. So let me choose this file and click open and add. It will read the task rows. Then it will ask me the credential. SP admin and the password I'm just entering. Click add. So this two task will be added as an individual task over here in this tool, and click migrate. Yeah, it started scanning and migrating the file. So here, this is something the modern team side. Let's open it so that we can check whether the migration, once the migration is completed. So this is a modern team site called materials. I'm just opening the documents. Yeah, it's done. The first migration is done. Yeah, you could see the file here. This is something I have written my C drive. This is materials. The same file will be copied over there. The second thing is this material custom list EMP. Let's wait for that. Yeah, still is going on. It's not yet migrated. It's still scanning the file. So you can also migrate your content using PowerShell. Let's see the next part. So let it be. So once it's finished, we'll come back and see. Before that, we'll go back and see the PowerShell format. So what this tool is running, this tool will help us to migrate this local file share, SharePoint on-premise, and do bulk migration, right? The same thing you can do with PowerShell. So let me go ahead and show you something. Like once you install the SharePoint migration tool, it will create some DLLs for running the PowerShell. So this is the path. In your user account, documents, Windows, PowerShell, modules, Microsoft.SharePoint.migration tool.PowerShell. So with this module DLL files, you can run this PowerShell command. You can do bulk migration. If you want to do any individual task migration, that all you can do with this. So these are the required DLLs will help you to migrate your content using PowerShell. So the PowerShell structure would be, let me go ahead and show you the sample structure. First here, I just mentioned my DLL path. This is where all my migration tool DLLs are there. Users, the admin documents. I just mentioned the DLL path. I'm just loading the modules first. And then I'm just mentioning the local file share location. If you want, you can do some migration like SharePoint on-premise to online, then you can do it. So just enter for this scenario, I just given here is the local file share path and the SharePoint online target site credential URL. And once you execute this PS1 file, it will ask you to enter the credential in the pop-up window. Then you can enter it. Then after that, what's your target document library name? So this documents, and you can import the module. First, you can import the module list of all the DLL files, and then you can register a session. And after that, it will add all this task to the register session. And after that, it will start migrating your content. Then once it's finished, it will cancel the current migration session. If there is any existing migration session, this command will help you to close this, and it will help you to start the new migration. Yeah, see here, its job is completed. So let's go back and see the list is created or not. So hope you remember, we just started this migration with the document library and list. So let me open the item summary report first. Incremental round, it's scanned. Yes. Open summary report. Global summary report. Yes. This is site dev. It's material. It's completed. Yes. Yeah, it's done. is copy this list as it is. Now let's go back and run this PowerShell model. Let's see how it works. So this is what the structure. PS, yes. So let me go ahead and run this PS1 file. It will do the same process as this migration tool is doing. So let me open the SharePoint 2013 management cell. I just went into the path. This is where I just have this PS1 file. So the file name here is CPS, all right? Let me enter it. Yeah, it will ask me to enter the site credential, destination site credential. Let me enter my username and password. Just click OK. Now it will start to scan my file as like our migration tool, as you could see in the screen. This is depend upon your the source content, the size of the content which you have in your on-premise site. So based on that, even if you have huge data, even it will take 2 days of time, 1 day of time to scan and migrate. So it won't affect your existing site performance. This tool will scan and migrate the content. You won't get any site performance issue or that you won't get it. It simply scan the file and migrate as it is. So now I have mentioned only one source path. So the job is completed. Let me go ahead and check whether it's migrated. So this is the path I created. See whether I have this file. Let me go to the document repository. Yeah, this is done. So let's have a quick view of the other reports as well. Let me open it. So as I see, this is where all the migration reports will be created in your local file path. So global settings. So this tool will create this file as it is. Summary report, the overall summary report, so that you can open it as a CSV file format. Then you could see source site and destination site, status, total GB, the same as it is. So what are the things that you are doing with that SharePoint migration tool report? The same thing that if you run the PowerShell command, so it will create a report as it is, start time, end time, everything that you can get it. And also you could see some other reports, task report, individual task report. This is a manifest file. So while after scanning the file, it will create this package manifest. It will contain 8 XML files that will be stored into your Azure storage. So here is the item report one. If there is any failure, then it will rerun. It will create an item report R3, R4, something like that. This is something structured report. If you have any site content structure type, document content type, everything will be shown here. Structure report 2, the item summary. The same like your individual task report, the total scanned items. So if there is any incremental round, so that I will show you the incremental round name R1 and R2. So what is the device name you're trying to migrate your content? It will generate all the reports, your source path name, your device name, and the migration start and end date, and how many files are uploaded. And it's if this tool is smart enough to re-upload files, any files are re-uploaded. So everything you can see it here. Yeah, that's it. So this is something the total scan summary. So it will show only the number of file scans, what are how many items are there in your source path and how many items are scanned. And if there is any subfolders, then how many files are there in the folders. And if there is any issues with migrating the folders, it will give you the, these 2 files are having issues in this folder, like that it will give you the name. So and the device name for the particular thing. Yeah. So you can get all the reports over here, so that in case if there is any failure, then you can come back later and will migrate the remigrate your job once again. So that's it.
All right. So are we done with the demo, Jayanthi?
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for the demo, Jayanthi. So folks, we just have a few more slides which I want to show to you. And Jayanthi, I believe we've got some interesting questions by the attendees. I'd invite you to go ahead and answer them.
Yeah,
All
yes,
right,
yes.
thank you.
Let me come one by one.
So you can just check that over the chat. And folks, just a couple of more things which I want to show you as a part of this presentation. Okay. So what happens behind the scenes when you're running this tool? I believe this is something which Jayanthi was already explaining while she was showing her demo, but just to show you here. So this is what is happening. So first, let's say that's you as the user, you're logging in, right? You're doing the authentication to the tool. Basically, you're giving in your username and password and you're authenticating, right? The authentication happens first. And then once the authentication is done, and once you click on migrate, right, once you click on the migrate thing, right, it is going to scan. And what's going to happen on the scan is it is going to check whether you have the right access on the destination, whether you have right access. That is very important, right? Without that, you cannot go ahead and perform the migration. It's going to check that, and it is also going to scan the files and check for any potential issues, whether it has any vulnerable content or something of that sort, which SharePoint doesn't support, right? And the next piece is packaging, right? So what happens with this is a content package is created that contains a manifest of 8 XMLs. So this is something which is created by the system itself along with the files that you are trying to upload, right? And next piece is uploading. So now that the packaging is done, the scanning is done, and now it has to upload, right? So a content package is uploaded to Azure. So here what happens is anybody who knows how the how SharePoint infrastructure is run on Microsoft, right? So because basically it is done on Azure, and here it takes advantage of your Azure blob storage as well, right? And since your data is transmitted over the internet, so along with the manifest files, the files which you are migrating, whatever document libraries or lists or whatever you're migrating, it is also encrypted using your AES 256 standard. So here what happens is it is only Azure and the SPO which is talking. There is no other intervention, because once you have done submitted to the migration, there is nothing that you can do, and no one else is coming inside that, right? So that is how it is secure. And finally what happens is session and resume. So once you're done with uploading and everything, it will start writing. So if you remember, Jayanthi was talking about initially, let's say you logged into the tool from one system, and later maybe you came back to your home and you're logging in with the same account from your home PC, let's say. So what happens is it'll identify that yes, this user, he has logged in from there and he has submitted a session for the migration, and now it'll also give you an option to resume. Let's say you can go ahead and do that as well. It'll understand your that we call that as the session time, right? So exactly it understands that as well, can resume back. And finally, once all that is done, it will be returned to SharePoint Online. This is sort of just let's call this as eagle eye view of what exactly happens behind the scenes when you're using this tool. And that's a reference which clearly talks about this. So if at all you want to talk about this tool to your customer, please go ahead and make use of this link below. So from the encryption and security piece, that is something which I was just talking about. During the upload and import phases, data is encrypted and Azure containers and keys are generated, right? So no one is going to have direct access to your storage accounts or the containers, because these are taken care from the Microsoft's data centers, right? And let me reiterate once again, I have done a session on Office 365 security and compliance where I've spoken in detail about what happens, how your SharePoint online content is secured, the defense in-depth approach and things of all that sort, right? So please go ahead and take a look at it, because I do not want to repeat the same content here once again, and you can read this for yourself if at all you're interested, right? So what it's basically going to tell that it is only nobody else is going to have access, even the maintenance engineers are not going to have access. It is just the SharePoint online account and Azure which is going to talk, and nobody else is going to come in between, which means your data is secure to that extent. Okay, so what happens to the permissions on a file when it is migrated? So this is basically a question which I believe most of you folks were asking on the chat, right? Because what happens? Are the permissions kept intact, or are the permissions broken? Because there are two scenarios here. The scenario which Jayanthi was explaining is if your on-premises identities, your on-premises Active Directory accounts are not synced to online using AAD Connect. That is one scenario. And let's say, yes, if they are synced, what happens? So the first scenario is user mapped between on-premises and SPO. So does sync is deprecated now. Now we have AID connect. So in file share, this is what happens. In SharePoint on-premises, this is what happens. You can take a look for yourself, right? And the scenario 2 is, let's say no user mapping, no synced, not synced, no user mapping file, right? So files will be assigned. So you can see about what happens in the case of a file share and what happens in the case of SharePoint on-prem files, right? And this is available for you to read on the Microsoft document as well, if at all you're interested. So features comparison, right? So in the agenda, I was talking about the features comparison. So a lot of you in your questions, I believe you were having the SharePoint, those great SharePoint third-party tools which we perform for migration, and the questions was, hey, can this do workflows? Can it migrate workflows? Can I do this? Can I do that? So this is basically a slide which I've kept so that you folks can do the future comparison for yourself, right? So please go through it, and once I'm sharing the slide, see it for yourself. So when I say third-party tools, the tools which I'm comparing with is such as your ShareGate, Metalogix, Dockave, and AvePoint. So these have been the major players, and we have compared that with our SharePoint migration tool so that you can, and we have presented you a comparison here. When it comes to site migration,
Vignesh, as far the
yes,
migration is concerned, those PowerShell script can be scheduled under task schedulers, right?
yes, it can be scheduled. Yes, the only thing is you have to be logged in with that account. That is anyway, that is there, but yes, it can be scheduled. Yeah. So site migration features. So this is also a comparison between other third-party tools and what the SharePoint migration tool offers to you. I'm not going to waste your time by going through each and every single thing. So once the slide is available for you folks, you can take a look for yourself. So when it comes to content migration, this is what is supported and this is what is not supported. Right. Next we have import files to SharePoint and reporting and support. This is something which all of us want to know, right? Because today what that is a question like, do I get an email alert once a migration job is finished? As of today, no. Maybe you can do something with PowerShell. Yes, with PowerShell, you can always achieve something which is not there. But directly from the tool, do I have a functionality which will throw, where I can go ahead and say alert me when this job is done? No, something of that sort is not present. So PowerShell commandlets. So as of today, as I said, with the version 2, the PowerShell module was released for this tool. And as of today, these are the PowerShell commandlets which is available for the SharePoint migration tool as we speak, right? And down I've given a note which speaks about the .NET framework and the PowerShell version which you are supposed to be running. Okay, and there is a reference document down there, and these are the PowerShell commands. So the first one, register SPMT migration. It is going to create and initialize a migrate session, add SPMT task. It is going to add a migration task, remove, start, and these are just pretty straightforward commands. This is something similar to your SharePoint on-premises or online commands, and I do not want to go in detail about it. You can check for yourself later. Example scenarios using the PowerShell module. So this was exactly the scenario which Jayanthi was explaining to you in her demo, right? She was creating the data source. She was defining the SPO target. She was defining the file share data source, and she was just calling that PowerShell function to initiate the migration. And this is that PowerShell which we were using there, and the reference link down there should take you to that to this complete PowerShell commandlet which you're seeing in the screen right now. So finally, we are on the end of the session. Okay, so my take on this tool, I believe you folks would have your own opinion, but I believe I've set the context straight. I've set the context right when I was on the beginning of the session as well. I made it very clear that this is not your fancy SharePoint migration tool. Okay, so my take on this tool is, this is definitely not a silver bullet to drive an enterprise-wide SharePoint migration to the cloud. I hope you folks would all agree, because this is going to do very least things, yes, right? And you cannot sit and perform a complete enterprise-wide SharePoint migration. Let's say you're a big organization, you have thousands and thousands of users, you have a very big SharePoint farm, and you have a timeline given to you that you have to finish the migration project within this time. Definitely in that case, please forget about this tool. This is not meant for that purpose, because you're going to be sitting all day there doing the migration, and God knows when you'll be finishing it, right? It does have to mature a lot, yes. So as of today, this tool is roughly a year old or something. And as you know, any Microsoft product, they release it, they wait to hear from their customers. So you can go to your SharePoint user voice and say that, hey, this is one such scenario which we have in our organization. Can the SharePoint migration tool have this functionality to do so and so? So Microsoft slowly hears from its customers and they're going to develop those functionalities and features, right? So it has a long way to mature. And of course, I believe Microsoft wouldn't have that in their mind, because if they are going to develop a tool which is as good as your ShareGate and Metalogics, then of course they are going to screw up the business of ShareGate and Metalogics. And if they're going to offer this for free, then I mean, so ShareGate and Metalogics are going to be shut down, right? So I believe they are going to be holding on to this. They're not going to make this as a completely full-fledged tool. Okay, this is suitable for small migration projects where you do not have enough manpower, right? Maybe you're an SMB, you're a very small organization, and you want your end users to go ahead. You're going to say that, see, we are moving to SharePoint Online. We have created a site for you. We have given you the permissions. Now it is your job to go ahead and move the contents there. In that case, you can just go ahead, run a campaign, open this tool, display this is how a tool works, so that the end users can sit and they can do that for themselves, right? Suitable for migration projects which has a longer timeline, right? Let's say you have a 1 year or 2 year roadmap to perform your migration. Then yes, maybe you can think about this because you have your own time to go ahead and do it. Doesn't require in-depth SharePoint knowledge to perform a migration. Yes, because today any third-party tool which you see, it demands you to have a SharePoint knowledge, because there are so many bits and pieces and controls here and there which only a SharePoint professional would understand. We do not want to touch something which is, which could delete the data, which could lead to some kind of disaster, right? But that is not the case with this tool, because the way we showed it to you, I believe any normal average end user who is good with SharePoint, he can go ahead and use it. And last but not least, it is suitable for SMBs, so organizations which do not have enough budget, right? Of course, these third-party tools are great, but because most of you folks, I believe, you might have went to your CIO or to the delivery lead and spoken about, hey, we have this great tool called as ShareGate or Metalogics, but when you take a look at their licenses, their eyes are going to pop out, right? That is a bit costly. But when, let's say, if you're a small scale business and you do not have enough budget, maybe you can think about this for now, and you can slowly take advantage of this. All right. So a recap. So what we have been doing for the past 90 minutes or so, we spoke about what's the SharePoint migration. We spoke about why to migrate your on-premises workloads to the cloud. We spoke about what are the benefits you get from moving from your on-premises environment to online. And then we did an introduction to the SharePoint migration tool, and then we were setting the right expectations on what to expect from this tool and what not to expect from this tool. And demo, I think Jayanthi has spent some 45 minutes giving a complete demo on this tool. She has went into the nitty-gritties of each and every single feature of this tool, and she has explained it as much as possible. And we did a comparison with other third-party tools. Okay. And yes, I spoke about my take on this tool, and we are done. And just in case folks, if at all you're interested, so this is some useful resource on how to get started. Just speaks about this tool, how to use it, what are the features, everything that you want to know about this tool. I've given you some useful resources for that as well. So to conclusion, in a world where digital transformation is influencing every business, right? The SharePoint migration is a nice to have solution to move your on-premises workloads to the cloud, so that you can take advantage of the features in the cloud to enhance your business and the way you collaborate with your colleagues, partners, and suppliers. Now, let me be very cautious when I'm giving that conclusion there, because this is meant for SMBs, right? And if you have your enough timeline to perform the migration, and to set the context, right? If you are an enterprise, big enterprise, you have enough time, you have a given timeline to do it, then just forget about this tool. This tool, maybe it might take its own time to evolve and become a mature product as the other third-party vendors out there. But if you do not have enough budget, yeah, maybe this is something which you can consider about. Now it is questions session, folks. So if at all you have any questions which you feel that I want to voice out and ask, it's time for you to unmute yourself and come ahead with your queries. We are more than happy to take your questions now. And thank you so much for being so patient across the session. Thank you so much.